continue talking about CSS animation, and I've got this example. I did the Domo kitten in the last one, but this time I've added an extra feature here. Oops, I got kind of a bug there. Just ignore that. Anyway, this has some interesting possibilities here. I got two elements that are animating, and there's a couple things that are going on here that I'd like to pay close attention to. So I'm going to increase the time of the animation to maybe double what it was before. So let me do this now. Let me save it. Now watch really carefully. So if you look at this thing, you'll notice it kind of goes a little past where it's supposed to go, and then it comes back and settles in. And when it leaves, it kind of goes a little bit to the left first, and then it exits to the right. Right? Also notice there's a little delay between the two animations. So when I hover here, the image starts rotating first, and then the other one kind of catches up. And let me increase that right here. I've used a transition delay, so let me make that like a little longer there, and maybe it'll be a little more obvious, right? Oops. Well, hard to show. Anyway, we'll come back to it. So how did I get this to work? Let's try it right now. I'm going to go and delete the things that I added from the last video. And this is where we were before. And, and the animation looked like this, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add another element here. I'll make it an H3. And also, you may have noticed there was like a little kind of flag shape on there, and so we'll talk about that too. So I've added my H3 here, and I'll say Domo versus kitten. Okay, let me fix that there. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to target this H3 now and apply some animation to it. And so what we'll do is we'll style it first. So I'll say Domo child H3, and we'll use position absolute to position it. We'll give it a background color of white, and then we'll give it a font family. Actually, I think I set the font family up here on the Domo, so it'll inherit that. And then maybe we'll give it a some padding. And I'm going to do that little like flag end on this side, like the little arrow, right? So I'll need a little more space on that side. And then when it slides a little bit to the left before going off, I'll need to have a little bit of it to hang off on the right side. Okay, so I'm going to set the padding on the top and bottom to 1 rem, and then the padding on the left and right to 2 rems. Okay, so let's see what we have. Oh, so there's our Domo versus kitten. But what I want to do is move this thing down here. So I gave it position absolute, so now I think I'll give it right of negative 20 pixels. So, a little bit of this edge will be off the right side, okay? And then I'll set the bottom to 0. Now, it won't be all the way on the bottom because the H3 has some padding on it, or I mean margin, right? So this is the margin right here, so that's pushing us up. If we took the margin off, then it would be resting directly on the bottom. Okay, so how do we get the shape here, this little arrow? I'm going to use a clip path, and the clip path is a little complicated. You're going to write clip path and then say polygon, and then each of these pairs of numbers is a position for 1 point on the clip path. And so you can have as many of these as you like, and you could draw all sorts of shapes. Here's a whole bunch of example shapes here, like a cross and a star and a circle and the custom polygon, right? So what I did just for fun is I grabbed this left point element here, and then I grabbed the 2 points here and here, and you can see as I drag this, this is like 18% on the X and 100% on the Y, right? So I'm going to drag this guy into the corner, so that's 0 on the X and 100% on the Y at the bottom. And then I'm going to grab this one. This should be the last point right here in purple. I'll kind of pull it over to 5 and 50%. Now, this doesn't look like enough of the arrow, but the thing is this clip path is going to get scaled to fill that whole thing. So imagine we took this and we stretched it this way and stretched it that way, and that's really what it's going to look like. And then we can kind of adjust these numbers after we see it. So I'm going to copy the value here, and I'll go back into my code, and on the H3 I'll set the actually I guess I already have clip path on there, so I'll set clip path here. Okay, so let's take a look and see what it looks like. Hey, that doesn't look too bad, right? Looks pretty good. So now let's set up the motion. So what I want to do is I want to say like how long the animation is going to happen. So I'll say transition, and then let's do it 600 milliseconds. Okay, and what I want is I want it to wait a little bit before, I want this other animation to start, and I want this one to wait a moment before beginning. So what I'll do is I'll put in transition delay, and I'll put in a 200 millisecond delay, right? And so this way I can kind of stagger the motion a little bit to make it a little more fun. Okay, and now that I've got my transition set up, I'm going to set up the hover effect. So I'll say domo :hover child h3, right? So now when you hover over the parent element, then this child h3 will apply these changes, right? So I've got the right set to -20, but to move it off, remember the width of this thing is about 200. So if I move this 200 to the right, then that should take it off the screen. So I'm going to say -200. If I did +200, it would push the right edge 200 pixels to the left, right? So this one's got to be negative. So let's give that a try and refresh it here. Oh, it's kind of working, right? Right, and there's like a slight delay, like when I hover over before this starts, right? Now the motion is okay, but I think we can get a little more interesting motion if it moved a little bit, like anticipated the motion by moving a little bit to the left and then shooting off to the right. So how are we going to do that? We're going to use a custom timing function. And just like the clip path generator, we have a custom timing generator here. So this clip path actually is bennettfeely.com Clippy. So you can actually just Google CSS clip path generator or something like that, and you'll find this one. It always shows up first. If you look up CSS easing functions, you'll get this Matthew Lean Caesar CSS easing animation tool, right? And what does this do? Well, you can pick any one of the animation functions here. Like I'll pick one of the default, I'll pick linear, and we can see that this is the animation along the vertical axis, and this is the time of the animation, and the line shows the rate of change. So the rate of change here is constant over time, and you can test out the animation here. If I click left, you can see it moves at the same speed all the way across. If I choose ease, that's the default, now you can see it kind of eases in and then slows down at the top. So here it starts off kind of fast, steep line, and then it slows down here, right? And then here's the ease in, ease out. So it starts off slow, speeds up, slows down, right? And if we go down the list here, there's a whole bunch more. So I could do ease out quart, that's kind of super fast and then slows way down, right? You can see the slow happening at either end there, right? I kind of want to go back and then go in, right? So I'm going to find this ease in, out, back down here, right? And that one kind of goes off the edges there. And you can actually grab these handles and tweak the animation to your own liking. But I'm going to go with this one. And to do that now, it shows us the code down here, and you can copy these extra lines for full browser coverage to get older browsers. I'm just going to grab the bottom line because this one will work in most of the newer browsers, right? And this basically uses the, and we'll paste it here, right? And so this basically uses transition. Actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this a little bit. Let me do this because I broke, transition can be broken up into the properties, the time, the easing function, right? But what I want to do is I'm going to change this to, because I already have those properties broken out separately here for ease of reading. So I'm just going to put timing function and then grab this cubic Bezier function and put it here, and that'll do the equivalent, right? Okay, so I've got my cubic Bezier, and then you put in these 4 values to determine, you know, the animation. To be honest, I'm not super clear exactly what each of these values are. You'll have to look that up in the docs. But anyway, this will give us a custom tweening function. So this is what we had before, and then let's try it now. So I'll refresh it, and now you can see as it goes, it kind of eases out a little bit and then shoots off, right? And when it comes back, it goes a little past and then settles in, right? So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope that that's interesting there. Couple new ideas is, you know, we need this hover on the parent to affect child elements, right? Which is kind of what's going on here. Like we're not hovering over the H3, we're hovering over the picture to get the H3 to animate. And then we can use delay to pause an animation before it begins, and we can set up custom timing functions with this cubic Bezier and use clip path to create custom shapes. Okay, so anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope that you can use that in your work.